Hello YouTube, it's your boy Nathan coming to you to do another recap video. Today we are talking 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After Season 9 Episode 19. Tell All No Limits Part 1. And woo! This part 1, you know what? It was intense. It was crazy. It was traumatic. It gave me vibes of last season's part 2. Uh, yeah. It was just ridiculous in this part 1. All the stuff that I really wanted to see, I'm glad I got to see already, basically. So let's just get on into it. So it's tell all time. And once again, for the third season, in a row, we're doing a No Limits for Happily Ever After. And for the second season in a row, all the couples are going to be living in a mansion during the time of the tell-all instead of staying at a hotel. So we start at the mansion, all right? Jovi and Yara first arrived to the mansion. So it's first come, first served. They pick their first rooms and everything. They notice a pool. There's a tequila bar. They got a bartender and everything. This is Jovi's Jovi's ideal thing. So they're in the car ride, and then they're just worried about their drama with Gina and Jasmine and stuff and everything, and we'll talk a lot about that in a minute. Next couple to arrive was Darcy and Georgie. They're looking forward to meeting the other couples, basically, and everything. They meet up with Jovi and Yara. And then who was next? I think it was the next couple to arrive. I think it was Jasmine and Guillermo. Jasmine and Guillermo next arrive. When Jasmine arrived, she was like, I don't want to see Gino. I don't want to see Gino. When she gets out the car, she saw a man in another car, and she thought it was Gino, but it just happened to be Guillermo. And she gives Guillermo a hug, saying, I'm so glad to see you. I thought you were somebody else and everything, blah, 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 and everything. And, Guillermo was happy to see her, but he felt weird coming without Kara, basically. So then who else showed up? Then I think Brandon and Julia showed up next. And of course, Julia's pregnant and not telling nobody. We'll get to that in a moment too. Then Kara shows up, and I think Kara, Lauren, and Kara, Elizabeth, and Andre show up next. And then Lauren and Alexi. When Lauren and Alexi arrived, they saw Elizabeth and Andre go up the steps, and they didn't want to see them because they're not talking. We'll get to that in a few too. And then last but not least, Gino arrived to the tell-all. And, it's awkward for him because he does not want to see Jasmine. So everybody's outside at the pool, just having a little pool party and stuff and everything, meeting and greeting and stuff and everything. And we see Gina come out and say hi to everybody. So Gina says hi to everybody, but he doesn't say nothing to Jasmine and stuff. And everybody's like, you're not going to say nothing to her? I'm like, no. And everything. So during that time, Jasmine was talking about, like, they asked, like, Jovi and everybody were asking Jasmine, like, were you intimate with Matt, like, before the open marriage? And she said no. And, Georgie said it best. So, like, she's going to say no. She's not going to admit to that. And Jasmine said, oh, I would admit to that if I did, but no. And then she's trying to, like, play victim. Oh, my marriage sucked, this, and that. Blah, 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 and everything. Meanwhile, inside, Gino went to go get some drinks with the boys and Kara. And Kara surprised me. Kara was on Gino's side the whole time. She was talking mad crap, calling all the girls the B word, these B words and stuff, or taking her side and everything. I'm like, dang. So Alexi, Georgie, Kara, and Jovi started talking to Gino, and they were like, well, we were trying to grill Jasmine, and she was acting all innocent, like she's the perfect angel and everything, this and that and everything. So Gino's like, I got to confront her. So he goes out and outside and starts confronting Jasmine. It's like, Jasmine, I heard you're talking crap about me. And Jasmine was talking to Elizabeth and stuff, and Elizabeth defended Jasmine. She's like, Gina, can you not do this? She had just had a baby. And Gina's like, don't tell me about her just having a baby. Like, I don't care what she's going through. What about what I'm going through and everything? And Elizabeth was like, this is just not the way, Gina. And then, and then he was, and then he started yelling at Jasmine. He was like, Jasmine, did you tell everybody that you cheated on me and everything? And she's like, yeah, I cheated. Elizabeth, I cheated and everything. And Kara was like, I think we all know you did and everything. Nobody's really believing Jasmine when she says that she didn't cheat. Now, I said this before. I don't think before they agreed to the open marriage, I don't think she was intimate with Matt before they agreed to open marriage, but there was clearly emotional cheating involved in everything. So there was that. Then before we circle back to that, then we see Andre and Jovi. This is what I kind of wanted to see the most. It wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be, but still, it was still intense. So Andre decides to pull Jovi aside to have a little man-to-man conversation. And so they had a talk, and Andre asked Jovi, okay, so you blocked us on social media. And Jovi's like, yeah, I did. So what's up? And everything. And Andre was like, I'm trying to make amends with me. And he was like, well, you need to apologize for what you did. And your wife called my wife like the B word and everything, the worst possible thing you could say to a woman and stuff and everything. And then Andre just starts getting so defensive, and he's just like, are you going to be a little bitch about it and everything? Like, this is a two-way street. And he was like, it's a two-way street and everything. I'm trying to talk to you and stuff and everything. And Jovi's like, you're not trying to talk. You're already being aggressive. You're already raising your voice. You're already cussing. You're calling me the B word and this and that. And then they just kept on talking. And then finally, Jovi just snaps Andre's drink out of his hand and everything. Next thing you know, drinks are flying, like glasses are being thrown at each other and everything. And everybody was like, what's going on? What's going on? And Andre was like, you want to fight? You want to fight? And Joe was like, I ain't trying to fight you. I'm a girl. I'm 34 years old. You're almost 40. You need to grow up and everything. And he's like, and Andre was like, I'm trying to talk to you. I'm like, you're not trying to talk and everything. And then you got Guillermo coming in to separate. He was like, okay, so what you guys fighting about? And he's like, well, Andre's just too hot-headed and everything. And Guillermo's like, well, Andre, if you're trying to talk to him, you can't be calling him a female and stuff and calling him the B word and everything. He's like, well, we talk about this stuff all the time, like when we're out together and everything. I'm like, it doesn't matter. That's in a fun content. This is not a fun content, Andre, and everything. But Jovi is like, look, we'll squash this beef. We'll squash it right now. But if you don't disrespect me, I don't disrespect you. Deal? Then deal. And everything. But that was, you know what? I mean, with Andre, what he tried to do was fine, but he wouldn't apologize for his part on that. If he wanted to squash the beef, he would be like, I'm sorry for what I did. Let's just squash it. That's how you do it. But you're going to call Jovi the B word and a female and everything and call yourself trying to squash it did not make no sense, bro. Like, I just can't with Andre. So meanwhile, after that little incident, now we go back to Gina and Jasmine. And now Jasmine is in her fields. Matt is not there right that day. He'll be at the house the next day. But Jasmine's now in her feelings. She's like, you know what? I'm not gonna let Gino get away with this and everything. So Jasmine's like, hey, he starts yelling, hey, everybody, guess what? It's time for me to say my piece. When I first went to Gino's house, when I first arrived in America, I went to his bathroom and there was crap in the toilet and everything that he did not flush and everything. I'm like, okay, that's your argument compared to you cheating on your husband. That's your argument and stuff and everything. Next thing you know, Gino is like, you're a freaking fraud. he's screaming on the top of his lungs and everything. Like, you're a fraud. You're a fraud. I'm going to immigration. You're a fraud. This man was a scam. You're a cheating liar. And then they're screaming at each other on typical Gina and Jasmine BS and everything. It was just ridiculous and everything. So the girls had to, Elizabeth had to separate Jasmine. Andre had to separate Gina. And they told Jasmine, you know what, why don't you just go to a hotel for the night, basically, and everything to cool off. And, you know, she's like, yeah, I'll go to a hotel. But there was one more order of business that she had to do. Jasmine had the audacity. Gina had left his luggage, like, at the front door, and she seen it. She's like, oh, this is Gina's luggage. This girl just starts, like, taking all kinds of liquid and stuff in her purse and stuff, and just starts, like, pouring liquids all over his luggage. And then the next thing you know, she pulls down her panties, and the producers ask her, what are you doing? And she's like, yeah, you don't need to film this. Don't worry. I ain't doing nothing. She takes off her freaking nasty panties, and I'm thinking she's about to urinate on Gina's luggage, but she rubs her dirty panties all over his stuff and puts her panties in his luggage. That is disgusting. That is super, super disgusting. I don't care what anybody says or how mad you are. That is super, super disgusting. And Jasmine has said that she's a changed woman. She's not the same Jasmine from before and everything. Well, you could have fooled me and everything. So it was just crazy. I don't know what was wrong there. So after she left, everybody's just like, okay, it's time to go to bed, good night, and everything. So now we enter Tell All Day, the studio version of the Tell All finally. All the couples arrived to the studio and everything, getting ready. Matt arrived to the studio. Jasmine goes around and shakes and introduces Matt to everybody. Everybody's like, yeah. Matt said that he'll be cordial with Gina unless it gets out of hand, basically. So we get on stage. Sean Robinson is back. Thank the Lord. I'm glad she's back and everything. She goes around and says hi to everybody and everything. Like before, and you know, there was a moment with Kara and Guillermo. Kara at the house said that after talking to Gina and Jasmine, she's like, I'm glad I had a baby with someone who's a good human. You know, she be giving him false hopes. But then when they were at the studio, like, you know, Guillermo just tried to put his arm on her shoulder, and she was like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. Like, I'm trying to fight for a relationship. And she was like, wish we could fight for a relationship. And she was like, oh, speak for yourself. I'm just like, oh my goodness, can't win with them. So we get on stage. You know, Sean says hi to all the couples. We get to Brandon and Julia, and you know, Julia says that her her baby journey has been going hard. Nobody knows that she's actually pregnant. Some people are speculating that she is, and yeah. So she's basically she as soon as she says hi, she starts crying and walks off the stage and says, in Russia, we don't tell people that we're pregnant until months and months that we're in, not because of superstitious. And she's at a high risk pregnancy. She's saying that she could possibly lose the baby and stuff. Now, I want to say something to Julie. Say something about that. Okay, having a baby, okay, if it's a culture thing, okay, but having a baby is something precious and everything. It's something like you're bringing the new wealthy born baby into this world. There's a lot of risks that come with pregnancy. I'm not no expert, but you know, as a person who is an uncle, I don't have any kids of my own, but I am an uncle, and I've seen what my siblings have gone through in their pregnancies, especially one sister I had who has 4 kids. All 4 pregnancies she had were high risk, and so Julia needs to like really, I think, like, just in a biased opinion here, like really needs to pray about this, because like I know she's scared and it's understandable, but she can't be stubborn. like she puts too much pressure on herself by not telling. I don't even tell my parents or Brandon's parents or nobody here, blah, 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 and this and that and everything. But like that should be the least of your worries about it, because all you're doing is gonna make things worse for yourself. We're gonna have faith, Julia, that your baby is gonna be perfectly fine when the baby comes out. Okay, like we're gonna have faith. Okay. So she comes back on stage, and now we get started with the actual tell all. And we start with guess who? Gina and Jasmine. So Gina and Jasmine in the hot seat first, and and Matt and Matt, because Matt's there too. Um, they first show when Jasmine revealed to Gino that she was pregnant, and how upset he was and started crying and stuff. Um, he start so they show that footage, and then Jasmine starts crying and said, "I'm sorry, Gino. I'm really sorry, Gino," and everything. And Gino was just like, you know what? I believe these crocodile tears for so long. I just can't do it no more, basically, and everything. So then they talk to Matt, basically, and it just it just went downhill from that. So basically, you Gina keeps saying that Jasmine cheated and everything, which technically she did. Agree with the open marriage or not, like she did, basically, and everything. And then there was a moment when Georgie questioned it with Jasmine, and then Jasmine just gets up and snaps at Georgie and starts walking off and everything. And Sean never really does this. Sean was just like, Jasmine, can you please come back? Like Sean has like a real soft spot for Jasmine. Like every time Jasmine has her meltdown, Sean is always there to calm her down. She don't do that with anybody else. Like she did it with Jasmine. She's done it, and I've seen her do it on other tell-alls. Like let's get her a tissue. Jasmine, please come back and say it's okay and everything. Jasmine does not want to take accountability for her actions, basically. So she comes back, and then now we bring out Gino's cousin Dana and his wife Michelle. They come out, and they're the only ones that are Team Jasmine. The rest of Gino's family are Team Gino, and that was pointed out. Sean had asked Gino, like, your whole family is Team Jasmine, basically. He's like, no, just them. Everybody else is on my side. So Dana and Michelle come out, and everything. And then, they talked about how they blocked each other and everything. Dana says that Gino just doesn't want to hear the truth. And he just, every time if it's not what he wants to hear, it's wrong. And Gino likes to say his famous line, and that's not true and everything. Your famous line. So then they're going back and forth and everything. Michelle says, like, Gino, she has nobody here. You kicked her out and everything. And I said this throughout the season. Why didn't Jasmine just live with Dana and Michelle? She didn't want to really be with Matt if they're all close friends and stuff and everything. So then next thing you know, Dana was just like, I wasn't going to expose this, but I'm going to expose this. Dana gets up and goes and gets in Gina's face and everything. Security had to rush in and were like, whoa, 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 what are y'all doing? We ain't doing that. Security had to rush in and everything and tell Dana to sit down, basically. So Dana says that when Jasmine arrived to America, Gina didn't really want to introduce him to his immediate family and everything. And I guess a conversation had happened that Gino felt like he made a mistake bringing Jasmine here and stuff and everything. And Gina, of course, is going to say that's not true. But what was true is that they were fighting a lot when she got here, and they were fighting a lot when she got here, because she had remember the big fight during her 90 days about the lip gloss that she found in Gina's car and everything. Remember that? It was always something. And then during last year's Happily Ever After, the whole her being in that pageant, and then her treating him horribly at the pageant, and then the issue about him not bringing her kids here, or trying to bring her kids here and stuff and everything. So they had that conversation. Then then this is the moment that I personally waited for. Then they brought out Gina from the first couple episodes of the season. They brought out Gina's love interest, Natalie, to the stage. I was so excited to see Natalie, basically. Natalie comes in and she came in hot, but I don't blame her. Natalie comes in, she sits down, and Sean let her do a little intro. And Sean asked her, "How do you feel about seeing Gina and Jasmine and everything?" And Natalie just like Jasmine, and she said this calmly. She was just like, "Listen, as a woman to woman, I don't like how you put your hands on me." And next thing you know, Jasmine's just like, "I'm not going to play this game." Just for Natalie saying, "I didn't like how you put your hands on me." Jasmine gets all up and again, "I'm not playing this game," and everything starts wanting to walk off. And then Natalie starts screaming. She's like, sit down, sit down. You're a poor excuse for a woman. You don't want to hear the truth, everything. Sit down." So, like, Natalie gets up and starts chasing her and everything. Security had to come in again and everything. Natalie's yelling. And then they also had Gina's nephew. He kept quiet throughout their segment with Dana and Michelle. But when Natalie came out, and when she was chasing Jasmine around, you got his nephew Anthony. He was just like, "See, this is typical Jasmine. She's a manipulative." I think the word succubus, manipulated succubus, right here, and everything. So Natalie's screaming, like, "Sit down and talk," and everything. But Jasmine ended up coming back and sitting down. And so they rolled the beam footage of what happened at the bar at Dana's birthday party when Jasmine came in and pushed Natalie and stuff and everything. And they rolled that footage. Jasmine claims that me and Matt were living together, but there was still hope with Gino, basically. And so what else? So they wanted clarity about what happened on about about that conversation that Gina and Jasmine had prior to Natalie coming to Michigan. And because Natalie had said, like, "I need full closure if we're going to continue something." So when Gina and Jasmine met up to have that conversation, I think, like, there was a lot of missed signals. Like, they thought that there's going to be some kind of hope that they're going to get back together. But Gina's saying, "No, I brought up divorce in that moment, basically, and everything." So there was just no clarity on that matter. So Natalie was just like, "You know what? Forget this." So so they said goodbye to Natalie. And before they said goodbye to Natalie, this is what kind of surprised me, basically. Natalie had said before she left that, "You know what, regardless of the situation, I did not deserve the one to be pushed. Secondly, I did not deserve." She was like, she told Jasmine, "You should have pushed Gina if he wasn't all that honest with you. Secondly, I'm a 53-year-old woman and everything, and you need to take accountability for your actions and everything." And Sean asked, "Do you have anything to say to Natalie?" She was like, "Nope," and everything. And she told Natalie, like, Natalie told her, "You need to grow up," and everything. And then Jasmine starts doing la, 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 like, acting like a little kid. That's how the little kids do it when they don't get their way, like, la, 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 and everything. She was like, "You're a middle-aged woman, grow up. I'm 53, you're middle-aged, grow up." And like, "You're acting like a narcissist." And even Kara was like, "Yeah, I agree. You act like you have narcissistic tendencies and everything." But then Kara was like, "Yeah, Gina, you're no angel either," and everything. So they said goodbye to Natalie, and then they said goodbye to Dana and Michelle, and they're just trying to figure out how to do this. Like, especially with baby Matilda being born. Gina did say he'll go get a paternity test to prove that the baby's not his and everything, and that's that. So then after all that craziness, Then we finally went to the Florida Three. We finally got off of Gina and Jasmine. Now we're into the Florida Three. So we mostly just talked with Elizabeth and Andre and Lauren and Lexi. Jovi and Yara kind of kept quiet a little bit in this part. I think we'll see more next week with that. So so basically, drama with Elizabeth and Lauren calling each other's husband the D word and everything, and Alex possibly body shaming Lauren during her mommy makeover and stuff and everything. A lot of he said she said in that moment in that moment. So they wanted to clear that up, and so Alexi had said that there's a time and a place for that, and that wasn't the time and the place. And Andre was like, "Are you denying it? Why are you mad if it's true or not?" He's like, "I'm not denying nothing. It's just like there's just a time and a place. If you're really her friend, you should have talked to her about it in a better setting than that and everything." And then Elizabeth was like, "Well, me and Lauren are no longer friends because of this, and because we can't trust each other." Next thing you know, Lauren is screaming, "Because you opened your effing mouth." And Elizabeth was like, "I opened my effing mouth," and everything. And then they started screaming. And then Andre decides to want to bring up the text messages about, Alexi body shaming Lauren, and then Andre somehow reading the messages and everything. And so Andre says that apparently Alexi was looking up to other women and telling Lauren that she needed to do this, and that after her little mommy makeover last year or whatever and everything. And Alexi cleared his name with that. He was like, "Look, I didn't body shame her. I told her we met with like a dietitian to like help her with some things and everything, but it wasn't meant for body shaming, basically, and everything." Alexi did admit he could have done better in his wording with that and everything, but still. So then next thing you know, Andre is still like going off and saying, just making up some more stuff and everything that wasn't true. And then we end with Andre sitting down asking Alexa, "You want to fight? You want to go outside? We can go outside and fight and everything." I'm like, why do you want to fight for? Why do you want to fight? Because if Alexi wasn't being hostile, Andre was, and nobody was talking about fighting. And then Andre wants to just be aggressive and be big and macho and stuff, and let's do a fight and everything. And we left off with that cliffhanger. So again, it's just Andre just needs to chill. He needs Jesus. He needs Jesus. Like, he likes to cuss a lot. He likes to be aggressive. He likes to be intimidating and stuff and everything. And it's not cute. And Elizabeth just defends that all the time and everything. I'm glad she defends her husband, but still. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was basically part one of this crazy tale. Yeah, it was overly dramatic. It was traumatizing a little bit, but still. But anyway, yeah, we'll continue for part 2, 3, and 4 in the next couple weeks. That is the end of this recap. It was a lot. It was a lot. But anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be back on tomorrow to recap 90 Day Fiancé the other way. So until then, y'all stay safe and have a good one. Bye, y'all.